Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Afternoon, West Coast of Canada. I don't know what time, and people can watch this later, et cetera, et cetera. But it's 3 o'clock on the West Coast of Canada. I'm joined by my very knowledgeable, handsome, and capable co-host, Blake McKenzie. Blake, welcome aboard. I hope the week's been
Hello.
going for you. Doing okay. You're not being too busy.
No, it's my anniversary with my wife today. So
How many years for you kids?
21.
Oh,
Are you
wow.
kidding me? 21 years?
years. Yeah.
Where does the time go, man? Holy smoke.
Wow,
Ladies and
Chris.
gentlemen, I've known Blake. Him and our friends. We're both on the west coast of Canada. We're on Vancouver Island. I'm in Nanaimo, and Blake's down in the capital city of Victoria, British Columbia, beautiful Victoria. But we met each other in 1994. We know the year. And Blake helped me get an early job of mine. Well, it wasn't one of my first jobs. It was one of the last jobs I think I ever did. But I was out digging a church out, an old historic church. This is what we call this thing, ghost town politics. Blake is listen, man, of all the people I know of ghost towns and gold panning and the Old West, all this sort of stuff, this guy knows. So he has a natural, heartfelt love of history. And he brings that expertise and that knowledge for our collective edification here on this program. As for me, I'm just a guy about a few years at university, hung around with some people, studying under some Marxist professors, which is kind of interesting. But we're both Christian people. We both internalize that value. That's, Jesus is the reason, not just for the season, but for the whole enchilada. Hope we're not using enchilada out of school, what with all the New Mexico rising in LA. But we're gonna some stuff to talk to. First, let's start off with some happy news for us, Blake. I know you and I both welcome this. I regret the official Elon Musk account. I regret some, not all of them. Some of my posts about President real Donald Trump last week, they went too far.
Yeah.
So good for Elon. He was mad, or he was up. He's saying, Trump's out there, causing trouble with Epstein, and of course, there's a nothing burger there. If there had been Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all the usual miscreants, for the love of God, who's the guy? Bobby De Niro. For the love of God, Bobby De Niro would have had his ass. And is playing along with Bruce Springsteen. By the way, speaking of rock gods, Bruce Springsteen, the incredible Brian Wilson, the brains, the guiding heart, the song meister, the very heart soul of the Beach Boys passed away either earlier today or yesterday. 82 years young, an absolute legend. I've got a ton of Beach Boy albums up here in my record collection. I love Brian Wilson. And a big Beach Boys fan. Not as they ain't the Beatles. The Beatles is better, but mutual respect from the two bands. A lot of influence, cross fertilization. Paul McCartney famously borrowing some of the stuff from Pet Sounds, especially on Good Morning, Good Morning. The outro between that and then the segue into Sgt. Pepper's Reprise. But I wax eloquent. The point is, it's a great loss. He was one of the great pop musical composers of the 20th century. So rest in peace, Brian Wilson, joining his younger brothers, Dennis and Carl, who preceded. I was lucky enough to see the Beach Boys twice. Never got a chance to see Brian. Brian had long since stopped touring with the Beach Boys. Yeah. But they were an amazing band to see live. I saw the Bruce Johnson kind of iteration of the Beach Boys. Bruce came in.
Was that at the Royal Athletic Park in Victoria?
That was one.
I was at that one.
Maybe we were together at that one because we were hanging around that time.
I was actually working it. I was working for the promoter. I was backstage. I was a crew guy.
Early 90s, right?
It was very early 90s. It was before 94 when we met, but it was early 90s. I remember sitting with the guitar player at the time from the Beach Boys, but I didn't know him. He was a hired gun.
Oh,
he was just sitting with.
They would have different
because they had all. It's kind of a hilarious story. We're sitting behind there. We're just crew or roadies, basically.
Yeah.
And the guitar player is sitting there staring at this tent. He's like, "Hey guys, look." And I'm like, we're all like, "What?" He goes, "I'm like, am I like maybe 20, 21 at the time?" And he's like, you could see through the tent. And I'm like, what do you mean see through the tent? We're all like, what are you looking at? And he goes, it's the Beach Boys cheerleaders. They're all getting changed. Yeah. He's like looking right through the crack of, you could see right through it. They're getting changed. Anyways, my story with the Beach Boys.
Yeah, Cheryl was lucky enough. Love and Mercy, Fab Doc movie about Brian's life. Saw Brian several times. Smile tour, yeah, the great album Smile, a lot of promise. Really didn't manifest to the extent that he wanted to. The illness, kind of, you got to question whether Brian Wilson was another one of the acid casualties. But it's a great loss, and we loved. I loved the Beach Boys. So many people did. Kind of America's band in many ways. Okay, we got another link I see in the back room. Sue, what do you got for us here?
Well, I think we're starting on the what's going on in LA, some of the riots.
Okay, well, let's take a look at LA. What are some of the thoughts being expressed? What are people saying? Okay, let's make this go big. ICE protesters versus 7-Eleven employees. It sounds crazy. Roll the tape. They want their Slurpee. He just really loves Slurpee. Okay, well, that is just, isn't that absolutely crazy? You got another one for us?
Let's go to that one.
Okay. Holy smokes, Sue, thanks for doing the heavy lifting for us today. Joyful Warrior writes, nothing says I'm pro-immigration like attacking immigrant businesses. Holy smokes. Yeah, I mean, here we go. It was hard to tell who was who. From a quick look there, if they, which one's who's who. But it seemed the guys on the right were there. Darren Hatfield says, bummer about Brian. Absolutely. Sean Howard, welcome to the show. Great to have you here. Okay, we got another one already. You're rapid fire today, back room. So here we go. Let's see what we got here. Shizzles, MJ Truth Ultra. I love it. Gavin Newsom busted in a lie. This is actually kind of interesting. Saying he never spoke to President Trump prior to sending in the Marines. Trump said, hold my beer, contacted Fox News host John Roberts, J.D. Roberts of Much Music fame for you veterans out there. And I mean not military veterans, veterans of rock and roll. Trump said, hold my beer, contacted Fox News John Roberts, provide him with a call log showing he spoke to Gavin for 16 minutes, telling him to get his ass in gear and stop the riots, which were out of control. More than anything else, this shows what a liar Newsom is. Said I never called. Here's the evidence, said Trump. So that's, talk about showing some asshole up. What do you think about that? What do you think about that, liberal hero Matthew Petty? Doesn't that shame you to know Newsom's a big fucking fat liar? Blake, go ahead. Thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, Newsom likes to play the Teflon Don of the left coast.
Yeah. Let's see what he done there.
Yeah. So, I mean, he tries to play both sides. He's got his podcast going. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's new. I mean, a gruesome Newsom. I know I've got friends in California call him that. The guy he's full of it. I mean, this is the same guy who, during the disease that shall not be named period, was telling everybody to shelter in place and was telling everybody you can't go to a restaurant, you can't do this, you can't do that. And there he was at a 5-star some wine estate restaurant with a bunch of friends, no masks, nothing, having a feast with them, showing that, hey, what's good for you guys isn't good for us, but you do what I tell you to do, but doesn't apply to me. But it's the same guy.
We saw that replicated in the UK. That was part of the reason why the Conservatives fell, because, they had Igor, whatever that guy was out there.
That's right.
Igor. And he was out running everything, and it was just it was absolutely nonsense. Everybody else, so you got all of us, peons, we got to do all the rules, but I guess we didn't have to listen to them. Yeah. All right, we got another one. Scoozy's got something lined up.
Okay,
Let's see what it is.
We're listening to Karen Bass here talk about how LA's a bit of a mess, and they got the World Cup and the Olympics coming up. So I've got Karen Bass telling her thing, and then we're going to check out and hear what Maxine Waters has to say about it.
Okay, we're going to find out. Can you make this big that we'll play her here? Somebody here is laughing their ass off at this. Here we go.
Graffiti that is just blanketing a number of blocks has been extensive. We are 1 year away from the World Cup. This is about beautifying our city and bringing our city together. And so I am calling on business leaders, community leaders, faith leaders to come together downtown in the next few days to talk about how we are going to clean up the city. Obviously, city workers are already out there removing the graffiti, but this is so extensive, it's going to take community-wide involvement. We had launched a program called Shine LA a couple of months ago in preparation for the World Cup, and now we are called on to direct that citywide. We need people from all over the city to come to downtown and to help.
Oh, they're coming downtown,
baby. Advocating peaceful protest. And even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest.
Looks like a parade.
Did not
it's
create
a parade for
any
kids.
violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head. And so when martial law is called, what are you going to say? I missed the point. Don't miss the point, you all. Don't think that somehow, because they called out the National Guard, there was violence. There was no violence. I was on the street. I know. And I went from downtown detention back out into the community, talking to people what happened in Paramount, what happened in Compton, what happened in Inglewood. So, first of all, get it straight. And don't just rely on what you're being told or the few incidents that you saw. And even those who were out of step with what we are advocating, peaceful protest, did not create any violence. Nobody was shot. Nobody was killed. Get it in your head.
Okay, so Maxine's got it. Hey, Matthew Petty, it looks like everything's all rosy and ready for the Olympic Games or for the World Cup of Soccer coming into LA. Holy smokes, it seems like it's just going to be a great time for Mom and Dad and Junior and Uncle Fred. So, I mean, this is absolutely nonsensical. Again, it goes back to that, paraphrase this quote from Orwell, their biggest lie, the biggest deception, the greatest lie was don't believe the evidence of your own eyes. I mean, absolutely nonsensical. Clearly, there's violence. Clearly, I was watching these guys. It was funny. Like they show a Barnes and Noble bookstore, and the camera kind of pans. Not one single attack on the bookstore. These kids don't want to read. They want to get their sneaks. They're trying to get a great pair of sneakers. I remember
sneakers, iPods, all their fun stuff. But God forbid they steal a book that they might learn something from. I thought what's funny is take a look at that picture of Bass and her interpreter who speaks for people who have hearing difficulties. But I know I just want to know is that a new character from Cypress Hill? It looks like one of the performers from Cypress Hill.
It does. Well, it's quite a throwback, and of course Sly Stone. I guess to say it comes to three. We lost Sly Stone from Sly and the Family Stone, legendary performer. So he's gone. Brian Wilson's gone. So another two of that, golden age of rock and roll. Really the silver age, I guess. Yeah. Golden age is like Bill Haley and the Comets in the 50s, Buddy Holly, that crowd. And then, of course, you got the more modern crowd. But Sly Stone, rest in peace. A lot of great music from that guy, too.
But Bass. But let's talk about Bass for a second.
Okay, we're going to do Bass. And then
because she is still under fire on how she handled the fires, no pun intended, in the Palisades and in Pasadena. I mean, the fact is that the Palisades is all part of this conspiracy tin hat stuff that they're going to turn it into a 15-minute city, which is very interesting because the fact is nobody can get insurance on their houses because the insurance industry is leaving California. So you can't even get insurance. So that means how do you rebuild without insurance? How do you get a mortgage on a house without house insurance? And that's under her watch and under Gruesome Newsom's watch. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Nuts. So she's got a lot. There's nothing left. What is she trying to do? Let the city burn? And it sounds like they're more than happy to let it burn.
Yeah, well, I mean, clearly with the damages occur, but there is kind of this juxtaposition of problems in so much the city's on fire burning, and then they're one of the cities that has been chosen, high-profile city, LA, to help be one of the locations for some of the games. I know Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. are involved in hosting. It's kind of a North American hosting for the
Well,
World
and apparently, I mean, what Trump has opened the doors to help California over the fires, and now this, he was like he pushed through removing all the protective covenants on water supplies for reservoirs that could be used to put fires out. And that's essentially, so this, and then now we got the riots, but the plan, I think people need to ask, is this being planned by the same group of talking heads of Maxine Waters saying, don't believe your eyes, this is a parade for children to come and watch? No, that is a full-scale riot, and people are looting, people are going to get hurt, and those stones being thrown at police vehicles and immigration officers, I know in my own town, people have died from idiots throwing rocks off overpasses, and they've killed them while they're driving. That's an attempted murder. I hope that Bondi and the gang go after every single one of those people on attempted murder and or get them picked up.
Yeah, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that basically we're dealing with a bunch of criminals here.
Yeah, that guy actually, Pam Bondi went on one of the news stations today and said the guy that had the motorcycle helmet on, that's throwing bricks at
we saw part of that clip of that guy was in action.
He was throwing bricks at the ICE vehicles going by, and
rocks and chunks of concrete.
They've got him. They're about to arrest him, so he's going to get arrested. Hey, I want to remind everyone that Liberals were fine with the National Guard being called during a certain thing that happened in 2020. Yeah. And the National Guard was called out to make sure people stayed inside their homes. You can play that.
Okay, so a long time ago, there used to be a thing, okay, that everybody got sick or something. Anyway, it happened in 2021 sort of thing. Liberals were perfectly fine with Tim Walz using the National Guard to keep people locked during this time of horrible sickness time. But they're mad at Trump for using them to stop violent riots? What do we got here? Let's see.
Look at this. They just keep coming.
Oh, go inside! Get inside! Get inside!
Okay.
Get inside.
Get in your house now! Let's go!
All right.
Oh, well, wait till you didn't see the tank rolling down the street.
We don't need. The whole point is, there you go. The National Guard's out there yelling
you know what
people.
They had paintball guns. They were shooting people with the paintball guns.
Leave the link for people to watch, because I'm always dicey around this shit on YouTube. But I got to tell you something. Talk about overreach. These people aren't trying to break in to get a Slurpee. For the love of God, you liberal idiots. They would go down, if they wanted a Slurpee, they would go buy a Slurpee. I didn't need to break a star and hurt Rashid or England and try to get a Slurpee, okay? They're just watching TV. Get off your porch, you son of a bitch. Get in there. So, I mean, talk about overreach.
Yeah.
So poor Miss Farscusi's on top of it, man. She's totally right. Go watch the film. Watch it and weep, you lily-livered liberal. Lily-livered. Okay. Sue, have you got another thing for us?
Yeah,
I mean, there's so many stories happening here. Rachel, yesterday's show you mentioned Mossad might have known about 10/7 beforehand. Any evidence? Because it sounds like old conspiracy that Roosevelt sacrificed Pearl to get U.S. into the war. Well, we know that, like the Bay of Tonkin, the whole situation there with Vietnam, that was a real thing.
Well,
that was a false flag.
Well, how about the fact that Israel has the most guarded border? Like their border, nothing happens on that border.
They got people on that border watching it 24/7.
They were surprised.
There's no way they're coming in. It's very highly unlikely. Yeah. So I think, is there any evidence? No. How can there be? It's all hidden and buried, right? But it'll come out. The truth always eventually comes out. I got 51 senior intelligence officials telling me that little Topher's laptop is just beautiful. It's just the pictures of summer camp. And then anything not on there like that is from Russia. It's the Russian disinformation. Topher's our baby. So, I take that with a large grain of salt, if you will, Wolfie. But it's not too far to assume, Okay, we got a new one here. This is a link. Who's funding the riots? This is an important question. We talked about one of the characters yesterday that was mentioned, Sing something or other. This is no longer America, Vigilant Fox. President Trump just declared war on not the American people or anything, on the chaos. At Fort Bragg, he called the LA riots a foreign invasion. Correct. And he made one thing crystal clear. Generations of Army heroes did not shed their blood for third world lawlessness. Correct. Then came the warning. He's going after whoever's funding the flames. And is there any...
So there's a good long thread about that.
Okay.
So it's fun if anybody wants to check that
out. All right.
Out.
That's one. So we turn that over to our esteemed audience, including our liberal heroes. You kids are just great. And let you read it. What? One pallet of bricks? I think there was a lot more than one pallet of bricks available to all the kids for their hijinks in LA. I'm not on the ground. I'm not.
And the Craigslist employees chipping away on pavement. Yeah. So there's that.
Hey, did you hear this, Blake? Remember we were talking about the Walmart heiress?
Yeah.
Laura Loomer contacted Walmart and said, what the hell's going on with this thing, with this heiress? And they said she's basically the black sheep of the family. She does not speak for the company. They took a huge step back from it and issued a counter statement saying we in no wise accept this behavior.
Which could be the truth because they're all like trust kids. They've all inherited a portion of the Walton Empire. So they're all billionaires who have got these trusts. So it could be she's just acting on her own. But, that's probably good that they stepped up and said something.
Pellet of $50 helmets. Okay, so that's kind of interesting because that individual has been identified as a member of a kind of a liberation
advocacy
Latin advocacy group.
Churla,
it's called. Yeah. And so they got the ID on him. That you can't go around even with their masks and all the rest of it. These criminals are being arrested. They are being identified, and praise God for that. This is a great comment. I cannot get my head around the fact that Israel would sacrifice women and children like that. Not just Israel. I can't get my head around the fact that my government would lock my bank account
for protesting.
I can't get my head around the fact that my government would take my gas-fueled car away from me. I can't get my head around that. Why would they do that? I can't get my head around the fact that the government will pay for medically assisted knocking yourself off medical intervention. I can't get my head around that.
Faster than you can getting a cancer treatment.
I can't get my head around the fact that Colin Powell was showing photographs that turned out not to be accurate in front of the United Nations. That was broadcast for me to watch at home so I could go, oh, well, there's pictures. How can that be wrong? He's showing the pictures. There's the trucks. There's the missiles. Go get the weapon. They weren't there, but it sure the hell destabilized the Middle East. I can't get my head around that, right? Wolfie, you see what I'm saying? You would be surprised that how we're viewed by some of these governments, the way Trudeau talks about us. What did a basket full of deplorables? What rights should a basket full of deplorables have? What rights do a basket full of deplorables deserve? I would argue none, because they're deplorable. What about if they are, what are some of the other euphemistic negatives that have been thrown around? Domestic terrorists, white supremacists, racists in Ireland. Northern Ireland's blown up because a little girl got sexually assaulted by two newcomers guest starring there. The people that gone out have risen up in outrage because of this child being abused.
Called the protesters thugs.
Racist thugs.
Racist.
I can't
thugs.
get my head around the fact that the Irish government would go and talk to their own people as being racist thugs when they're outraged, morally outraged at the sexual violation of a child in Ireland.
Yeah.
What the fuck's wrong with these governments? They don't care. And as soon as you realize that, the way you go.
Well, and the other side, the same thing. I mean, I can't get my head around why would Hamas build fortifications and tunnels and weapons depots and headquarters below children's schools and hospitals. It's the same crap. These people don't care when they put children and women and children in harm's way. That's what you see. I mean, they've done it for eons. There's even tin hat going on for a second, but there's even a theory that the Lusitania was hit carrying armaments back in the First World War to drag the U.S. into the war. It was seen as a false flag plant of information to a German U-boat that the Lusitania was carrying arms for the UK, for Britain, from the United States, and they torpedoed a passenger ship, sunk it in 17 minutes, and brought the U.S. into the war of World War I.
Yeah.
So, do governments sacrifice women and children? You bet they do. They don't care. It's all about public perception. They just want to get something done. They'll do it.
What about military disasters where they know Gallipoli is going to be a disaster going into it, and they send them in anyway? Go watch a film about Gallipoli, and you'll understand how the absolute inhumanity and the absolute disdain that a certain class has for the working people of this planet. What about Dieppe? What a fiasco Dieppe was. Absolutely poorly thought out. They go in, Operation Market Garden. You can go on and on with these absolute disasters, military disasters that have been generated to fulfill the vainglorious lusts of certain leaders.
Yeah, General McClellan's march didn't go so well for Lincoln. He had to fire him for a total disaster. They should have had the Confederacy destroyed in a couple weeks. Ended up going 4 years because of that.
Tons of that within the Civil War. And here's the other problem within the British military. The way you could get a commission rank in the British military is that if you had the money and the social class, you could buy yourself a rank. Hello, Major. I've just bought it. I've just come in from pooping off the throne room, and I'm out here from the loo, but I'm now a full-fledged colonel. And I'm so happy, and I'm going to see some of the bulls. It was going to be a visit. And I think it's fantastic. So, I mean, this is problematic when you have this kind of situation. They have the press gangs. Yo, you're in the Navy now. What? In the Navy. They'd have the press gangs. They come in and just pull you out of a bar, and next thing you know, you're in the Navy.
Yep.
Congratulations, sailor.
Shanghai.
Hi, sailor. Happy Pride. You're on my boat. You're on my boat. You're on the SS Army boat. All right, it's just nuts. Israel did fire upon the USS Liberty, but that one could be rationalized. I agree. Okay, what do we got here, Sue?
So this kind of relates to Kimba's kind of question that didn't really need an answer.
Yeah.
It's Josh Hawley. He's one of the senators who are
Josh Hawley. We like him. Yeah.
So check that out.
Okay, Josh Hawley's got something to say. Let's find out what it was, kids. Who is funding the LA riots? We're talking more about who's funding this. This violence is not spontaneous. As chairman of the Judiciary Subcommittee on Crime and Terrorism, I'm launching an investigation to find out, and I think you should. And if you hit control and scroll on that, it'll go all big. Hit down control button and scroll. Will it go big? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. This one won't. All right. So anyway, check that out so the kids can read it themselves.
Basically, he's talking to Ms. Salas.
Yeah.
She's the head of Chirla with her husband.
Yes.
Which I've got another post for that kind of explains more what that is. That dovetails
in with that, yeah.
But it's an advocacy kind of protest funding group for immigrants in LA.
Yeah.
Mostly Hispanic immigrants.
Okay.
So that's kind of what their thing is. Anyway, what the cool thing is about this is that they are actually going after now who is funding the riots. Like, it's not just an organic where the people are upset and they're coming out.
We know that. I mean, there's no way.
But this is one of the times when they're actually going to go. He has told them they need to cease and desist. So they are committing illegal activity by funding these people and giving them their masks and bringing in the pallets of bricks and doing all that stuff. And he's the head of crime and terrorism in Congress. So it's quite interesting that he's started this off. And of course, that's what Trump is reiterating.
Yeah, reiterating the point that they're going, justice has got to come. Blake, how come we haven't seen any justice of all this shit that's gone on over the last 8 years? How come there's very little accountability? Every now and then you hear about somebody getting indicted. I know another judge just got indicted for helping out the illegals running around.
Leave that up for a second.
Okay.
Well, we have a lot of we still have all that funding that Doge had discovered, where I believe a lot of that money went to fund these organizations that are funding these groundswell of let's just say combatants. You know, these so-called protesters, professional protester class. They've been doing this for a while. I think the problem is that the money was allocated a long time ago, and they've got these silos of cash stashed away everywhere, like you would store wheat for 7 years to last you through the famine. So they've got their money already. And the only problem is at this point is it's going to take time. Let's remember Trump's only been in office for just 5 months. And you've got a whole new team ahead of the FBI and the CIA. You've got people that are going to be digging deep. It's probably going to be at least a year before they start really routing out the rats that have been getting these funds.
We're seeing a lot of terminations, and the Dems have been very upset about this. Okay, you're not allowed. We had these radical judges going, you've got to hire this person back, and then it bumps it up to the Supreme Court, and of course Trump wins, because there's no fucking way some judge, in Hoboken is going to determine national policy on who a president can hire or not hire.
Well, hopefully they can get all these people routed out. That's the key. And they, as you said, he asked me, how come we're not seeing more of this? It's going to take time. It's going to get the real ringleaders behind the scenes we're not seeing yet. We're only seeing the frontline judges. People are purposely stepping in to cause obstruction. They're going to be caught, but you got to get behind them to see who put them into power. That's who you find out who's behind it all.
Okay, and I love this quote for Pat's Radio. I love him from the vinyl community, Pat. You're fantastic. Our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. Who said it, Rachel? I want to say that Ringo Starr said it. Sounds the kind of thing Ringo would say. He always had these witty things to say, like a hard day's night and whatnot. But holy smokes, Pats, I just don't know. Who said it? You teach me. And then Chirla, there's the article. You can follow that and do recognizance. Okay, we got another one up here soon. Okay, set the stage. What do we got here?
Well, this is who Josh Hawley is talking about, Angelica Salas.
Okay, Angelica.
So just a little bit more on her.
That's a pretty name. Let's see what kind of gal Angelica is.
She runs this taxpayer-funded NGO.
Okay, taxpayer-funded. That's the best kind to have when the taxpayer's paying for it. Have you seen those shots of Greta Thunberg after the Israel interception? Fucking funny. But anyway, I digress. Let's get on to this thing. Angela, this from Laurel Powell Esquire. Wow, she's a lawyer. Angelica Salas, the executive director of Chirla, a nonprofit involved in organizing protests that have turned into riots in LA, is a bigger power player in the state than you might imagine. So we talked about Chirla and his part for what's happening in LA. Just like the organization, Chirla Executive Director Angela Salas has her tentacles, I wanted to say testicles, everywhere. Grab snacks, smell it, Chirla, let's go through it. So I don't want to go through all of that, but certainly there's a thread there for people to learn more about this nefarious Angelica, allegedly. Holy smokes. You were close. It was John Lennon. I love John. He's my favorite Rebel. He's my favorite Rebel. Holy smokes. All right. And Matthew, Sue's doing a great job. You know what the beauty of what Sue's doing here, Matthew, is that she's not saying it She allows Maxine Waters to say it for herself, and let's play the evidence right next to it. Sue is deadly accurate. If she was Robin Hood, she'd be splitting your pathetic little liberal limp-wristed arrow that you shot. You'd be shooting an arrow like the little king's son in Monty Python Holy Grail. But Father, I want to sing. And then it got it wrong, and it soars, so then Sir Lancelot goes charging through, killing everybody. John Cleese kills them all. He comes saying, "You've come to save me." And just like that, Matthew Petty, just like that. Holy smokes, read it and weep. Okay, Sue.
You're on a roll, Rachel.
All right, yeah, let's do some more fun.
More treats. Okay. This is no one is above the law.
No one is above the law. And I want
except for the Clash.
Yeah, going to that's a whole different thing. I love to. I fought the law won. Bobby Fuller 4. But anyway, okay, Sue, so we got this. No one's above the law. Let's see what we got here. Oh, Tears of Sorrow. Another woke judge. This is the tremendous actor, Kevin Sorbo. Remember him from Hercules, the Adventures of Hercules in the 90s. Xena, the Warrior Princess, was a spin-off from his show. Anyway, another woke judge has been arrested for helping illegals. This is fuck around and find out. Look at that. Tears of Love? What on earth is going on that an honorable judge would help an illegal migrant, fugitive drug criminal evade arrest? Medina Perez, who was barred from re-entering the U.S. in 2020, the date's wrong, was in court on drug possession charges and a fugitive warrant from Pennsylvania. An ICE agent has been waiting at the courthouse to take him into custody, Fox News reported. There's the face of fuck around to find out part. And I couldn't be happier. I'm not affected. Blake, are you finding I know you're a sweet, sensitive character. Are your emotions moved when you see the poor immigrants, the illegals, crying tears of sorrow now that their rock mist hitting the cop and blinding him permanently? I mean, do you just shed a tear or two? I know I don't.
Crocodile tears.
Crocodile, all you're going to get. Yeah, I mean, you fuck around, you find out. And I love the fact, same with the guy we were talking about yesterday, the LA scanner. He's talking big. He's doxing the ICE agents all over. That guy is in just a world of hurt right now. We're going to find out more about that one. We'll be following that story as, the indictments fall upon his criminalized head. So, and that's not even alleged. This guy's.
Well, I'm sure it's not very hard to find out the list because, the Soros-funded DAs and all these campaigns, the local judges, DAs, they're just going, these people were all plants. So,
Gavin Newsom has been given so many millions by Soros.
Well, he's got, and also Gavin Newsom's got trouble with China too.
Yeah, he does.
He's got China problems. Speaking of China problems, so one of the top stories today's title is "Elbows Up" as Canada strengthens the ties that binds with China, our overlords in Asia. Ni hao ma, China, namaha. Anyway, I'm so excited. It helps to learn a little bit of the lingo. Like if when in Rome,
that's right.
Okay, so can you do the one of them? Because they bring it up. This is a big story, Blake. I'll let you handle this one. You know a lot about all this British Columbia stuff. This is a big freaking story. You know a lot about this idiot EB. Take the story away, Blake. Tell the kids what we're looking at.
Again, David Eby is he is the equivalent of a governor in the U.S. He is our premier of British Columbia on the west coast of Canada, which is our largest border, ocean border to the entire Pacific trading zone. The guy has been implicated in let's just say a foreign influence leak from CSIS, where they have said that there's a number of Canadian politicians, specifically MPs, but he was specifically named as one of the group that was leaked out to Sam Cooper, who said that he was heavily foreign influenced by China. So let's move that up a little bit to where we are today. So this is the same guy who came out and said Trump is going to destroy BC, elbows up. He was all in on that. He's the one who pulled all the Jack Daniels off all our liquor stores and any kind of red state produced alcohol off the shelves because, hey, Trump is the biggest enemy to British Columbia. And he's all in on this, and he's telling all these Canadians and British Columbians to stay, shop at home, shop Canada. So what does this frickin' Chinese influenced politician do?
Allegedly.
No, it's not. He's done it. This isn't alleged. This isn't alleged. No, he is. It's not alleged anymore.
When you come one to of his consultants bank accounts to start with his, don't take mine. I love you, Art Carney.
So what does he do? What does he do? Our largest travel network for the oceans, British Columbia Ferry Corporation, just sent a multi-billion-dollar contract to build 4 new major ferries in China.
Okay.
Not in British Columbia shipyards, not in U.S. shipyards, not where we used to get them from was Poland or in Germany, but China. Not only just a shipyard that is semi-private, but it's 100% wholly owned by the Chinese Communist Party.
That's the ticket right there, Blake. It's not just that it's being built in China, which is bad enough, but the fucking commies, they own the company. And I'm beginning to think that they own our beloved Chinada. I just think it's all connected, Blake, and I don't think it's good. And
they just send a little Fang Fang around to do her work.
I don't think does EB like Fang Fangs or does he like Fong Fongs? We don't know. We're going to dig into that story too. We'll find out what's going. Happy Pride. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Holy smokes!
But it's causing a major storm here. But the funny thing is, in classic example, what you just showed in the riots down in Florida, how the media is downplaying it all, making it sound like there's nothing to watch here, folks. Yeah. It's a peaceful protest. People are just on the sidelines, just watching things. The media is doing the same thing up here over that. Yeah. And about this, BC Ferries is an independent corporation, and it makes a decision, and it didn't get enough bids from other companies around the world. There's nothing to see here, folks. And this is the media. The media should be digging into this, saying, what the hell? Elbows up, Canada. Carney should be stepping up. Our prime minister should be saying something to EB and saying, because this is the prime minister who told us that the number one threat to Canada and the West was not Russia, was not Trump tariffs, but was China. He said it himself. And EB's off sending billions of our dollars to China to produce what should be made local, creating jobs local, et cetera, et cetera. But there you have it, folks. Canada is Chinada. And that's why I think the ire of Trump is on Canada, why their intelligence networks are accusing Canada of being heavily influenced. And not only that, but through drug cartels are using drugs as a weapon, not to make money, but they're using it as a weapon to destabilize our cities, destabilize our healthcare systems. Our entire Western world is under attack from these Marxists. So that's my point.
All right. Blake beautifully stated. He's absolutely right. Couldn't agree more. And the biggest point always is that they just gave a multi-billion-dollar contract off to the Chinese Communist government to help out. Way to go, China. Congrats to China. Pelosi applaud. But the whole thing is, didn't Carney say they're our biggest threat and you're going to give them billions of dollars? Can somebody wring this little character under control? I doubt it. Here's the story I was following, Blake. What do you think about this one? This has got me chuckling. Indigenous activists declare war on Ontario Premier Dougie Ford, claiming that they're planning to take their land back, Los Angeles style, riot style. They're expected to take place shortly in major Canadian cities. And there they are speaking our little Indians. They are so inspired by what they're saying in LA. I got to tell you something. this does remind me of the fact that in the Ruddles, they were saying, John had sued Paul, or, Dirk McQuigley sued by Ron Nasty, the Ruddles names. And then they said Barry Walmsley went missing but nobody noticed he was gone, the drummer, because he wanted to have his own movement as well, do a thing. I mean, is anybody noticing this thing, Blake? That the Indians is getting restless, the natives is restless. By gum, my cousins are going to be involved. Cousin DJ, please don't get involved. That's not going to end well for you. You will faffo. Okay, Blake, go ahead.
Well, this is a repeat of 2020, the Summer of Rage. Because that was cross-border everywhere. They attacked everything under the BLM banner. They went after all of our colonial history, all of our foundational histories, and targeted to tear it all down. So these so-called Indigenous leaders aren't the true Indigenous leaders. This is a small group that are allied to these universities who are funded, part of this North America-wide, European-wide, where they want to destabilize the Western world. You'll notice it's only a handful of them. They're all radicals. And you know what? Most of them live in urban centers. They're not out on the quote-unquote res. They don't represent the people there.
Wow. So
they don't.
All gone whitey.
Well, half these people are the same people who are wearing their Antifa masks. Yeah. It's the same freaking group of people. They're professional, paid activists. And then they rally up people to do damage, tear down statues, do all that kind of stuff. The same people. Again, Indigenous people of Canada think most of them are full of shit. You talk to people.
Blake has every reason to be frightened and scared. Because he knows me, and I'm an Indian, and I go, you don't want to see me getting angry, mister. I'll tell you that much.
No, we got some great Indigenous leaders that are fighting back. Listen to Ellis Ross. He's one of the top leaders.
He's a good one.
And he's the one who's going to be saving this and bringing people into unity, not this divisive Marxist, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah,
run from a campus. Our campus radicals is what they are. Campus radicals.
Campus radicals. All right, we got another follow-up on this. In case you were wondering where your Canadian tax dollars were going, I was wondering where they're all going. I don't really. I know a lot of it's going to Ukraine. But anyway, almost $30 billion between the Department of Indigenous Services and Crown Indigenous Relations. Mind-blowing, mind-blowing, mind-blowing. Dwarfing housing, health, and natural resources. Welcome to the new Canada. These are the top 10 organizations. This is like a David Letterman top 10. Total transfer payment budget. Number 10, Department of Natural Resources. $2.62 billion.
Don't read the whole thing. You get the idea.
Veterans Affairs, Housing, Industry. Number 1, Department of Indigenous Services. You know what's so fucked up about that? I'm an Indian. I don't see a fucking penny of this shit. There's billions floating around. There's only 40 million people in Canada. Where's my billion?
Just go print it.
Give me my million.
You could probably access a free course at a college.
Well, no, but you could take that. How much was it for Indigenous Affairs? 41 billion. What was that number?
8 billion, basically.
Let's just do some quick math. Okay. Divide that by 2 million.
2 billion, 8 billion. I understood there would be no math.
Well, there should be simple math in the sense of how much per person, because there's approximately 2 million Indigenous people in Canada. Okay. So what would that mean if they had just handed that money to each Indigenous person, say, here you go, but we know it doesn't. It goes to a massive malaise of fat-ass bureaucrats and a whole bunch of wealthy lawyers who've been milking this forever.
Hey, but I read some further stuff under this post about what percentage actually of that money even 70% of this money goes to the bureaucracy of running these programs. 70%.
I mean, I'm not going to get my new Camaro.
There's a joke. A former MP who actually served, I knew, under the Joe Clark government. He was for 9 months. He was working with the Joe Clark government as an MP out of Toronto Beaches. His name was Robin Richardson. And he told me this one joke, and it's not going to be nice, but this is what it was. He says, one day, the minister who was in charge of Indian affairs, because that's what they call it in Canada, still to this day, so it's not politically correct. He said one day he was walking through the Indian Affairs building, and he saw all of these bureaucrats working at their desks quietly, doing their thing, and he found one of them crying, just bawling his eyes out. Yeah. And he walked up to him and said, what's going on here? Are you okay? And the guy says, no, I'm not okay. My Indian died.
His Indian died.
I
remember the Lone Ranger in an incredible episode. Tonto, the beloved native companion for the Lone Ranger, was a great hero. Though he wore a mask, he was not a villain, friends. And his beloved Indian companion, Tonto, suffered a horrible accident. You should have seen the Masked Wonder. Tears streaming down his face as Tonto lay there going, son of a bitch, this hurts. My moccasin is swelling out. That's horrible. Okay, this is just crazy stuff that we're getting. That's right, Kim. I need a new Camaro. Part of the indigenous reaching out of reclamation. Okay, Sue, Blake, you have a long history with porn. You have a small, modest porn collection, but recently one of our fellow Canadians ran into trouble with his small and modest porn collection. Can we do the porn collection? Sir. Is it there?
Yes, dude.
Are you kidding me? Are you that far ahead?
Just hang.
Yeah. Well, Kemosabe. It's like I remember that from a joke too as well.
Yes,
that's a good one.
I remember. I am Indian myself, but my dad would tell this joke. He says, "He go.
Here we go.
This Indian's on the side of the road, right? And his bike is broken down, right? He's got a bike, but he's got a flat tire. He can't do nothing with it." And the guy comes by with the car. Hey there, Kemosabe, whatever. You got a problem with your bicycle? And he goes, oh yeah, my bike is broken. It won't work. And he goes, well, I tell you what I can do. I can tie it to the back of my car, and then we can, if you we'll give you a tow. So I go, oh, that would be great. You think you'll give me a tow? I love that. So he ties him. I got him on the thing. He's on the back of the bike. The car's moving along. Well, wouldn't you know it, Blake? A guy comes up and practically sideswipes the guy driving. He gets so mad, he's flying. And the guy said, this is a key part of the story. He said, now listen, I know she got a little bell on the side of the thing. If I'm going... If I'm going too fast for you, ring the little bell and let me know. I'll slow down. Well, the guy, he gets so mad he forgets. He's got the kind little Indian kid on the back on the bike. So he goes flying down the road, and the Indians start to freak out. He goes, you're freaking out. Ding, 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 ding. And he's going to the bell. And later that day, the cops saw this whole thing, pulled them over and stuff. And the cops were chasing, and there's two cops in the car. And the one cop goes, holy shit, did you say I caught that guy 110 miles an hour? What the fuck? He said, that's nothing. Did you see the Indian trying to pass him on it? Bicycle. That's just crazy. But anyway, I love you, Dad, my late father. That's what it is. But we got another story. We're going to talk porn collections, okay? Because everybody's got a porn collection. Some have bigger porn collection. Patty, I know you're a chronic masturbator. You've got a massive porno collection. But one of our fellow Canadians had a very small porno collection, a modest one. And let's see how he did when the strong arm of the law got a hold of him, Blake. How does one have a, quote, relatively modest, what? Child porn? It's not just a porn collection, it's child porn. What the hell is wrong with our country? CTV News, this is one of our big legacy idiot station clown networks. No jail time for a British Columbia. He lives amongst us, Blake, just tossing away here. With relatively modest child porn. Relatively modest. I mean, what do you call modest in 2025? Child porn collection. Judge rules And you can read the whole story of CTV. Absolutely fucking crazy. And the new goes, it's a completely unjust situation. Tamara Lechu, of course, got in trouble for the Canadian convoy, no criminal record at all up until this time, where she was charged with mischief. Her mischief trial has been going on for 4 years now. Just under 50 days in pretrial custody in a remand center known to have some of the worst human rights violators in Canada, which I can confirm to be an accurate assessment. Still looking at 2 years in federal prison if the Crown persecutor, that's more accurate, get their way. And they're going to attempt to seize Big Red, the truck that her and her fellow convicted or charged, not convicted, but charged freedom fighter were charged with. Yeah. There's no such thing as relatively modest mischief, only relatively modest child porn, I guess, the absolute nonsensical contrast of a two-tiered justice system. And how long did you sit in jail, Tamara? How long are they proposing to give you for what crimes? Definitely a corrupt legal system.
Yeah, she sits in jail for 50 days.
Yeah.
Or they let her out.
Yeah.
You know, and we've got these guys back east who did all that, shooting and all that stuff. And they were let out, the big drug bust. Yeah. They're let out the same day, out on bail.
Yeah.
It's just.
Well, we have the same problem here in Canada as they do in the US. You have a lot of activist judges that have been put into positions of power. And we need our own version of what's happening in the US. We need to get these people out. It's becoming, it's hilarious, but sad at the same time. Basically, the message is this: stand up to us, your authoritarian regime, you'll do time. But everything else is open season. Do what you want. Go do fentanyl, sell fentanyl, beat up people, stab them, pray in the middle of the streets, blocking traffic, do whatever you want that causes chaos, and we'll let you go, because I think that's what they are. I do believe that these people are there to cause maximum disruption and chaos, because eventually it comes down to the theory of create a crisis and then manage it. I mean, the more chaos they create, the more authoritarian moves they can make.
Okay, Sue's got another headline for us, something to chew on. Let's see what we got going here. Breaking, this is good news. The FBI just conducted a successful operation arresting 244 alleged child predators and rescuing 109 children in Texas. The operation was called Soteria Shield. I am in tears right now. Mega Voice very happy with the fact that this criminal network was successfully broken up, and we praise God for good people. We need.
Meanwhile, in Canada.
Yeah, well, meanwhile in Canada, but keep in mind it's a relatively modest. I mean, what does relatively modest mean to you? Give me a number on that. I know there's no math on this show, but like relatively modest, like 100. I got 100 porno films of kids.
We're not talking. Yeah, we're talking child porn here. We're not just we're not talking adult porn. Yeah. So, I think one.
Matthew Petty, fucking Texas. It's only gotten worse as more liberals have moved out of there from California. Texas and Florida are reaping the benefits of all the liberals. Liberals come in, they shit up the bed, and then they go, "Oh, this bed's too shitty. Let's move somewhere else. Nobody can afford to live in this shithole." Then they move somewhere else, and then they make that just as shitty. Absolutely, It's kind of
half of Silicon Valley has moved to Austin.
A lot of people who like child brides in Texas. Am I allowed to say that?
No, you can't say child brides. You can say child brides, but you can't mention anybody who marries them. Okay. We need more international reporting on the farce that Canada has become. The fix is in locally. I'm losing hope that a homegrown solution is possible. I love that idea, homegrown. I don't think it is. I think we're too far gone. I think, outside of human intervention, obviously, all things are in God's hands. What do you think of a nation that turns its back on God, that blasphemes, that welcomes other religions, that does all this kind of stuff? If there is a God in heaven and a righteous God in heaven, is not judgment part parcel of the shtick God will raise up, God will lower, God will bless, God will curse. The rain will rain on the just and the unjust.
Let's put this.
Maybe we fucked around too long, and we're just about to hit the find out phase.
Put this one up for Pat.
Okay, Pat, this is for you. Liberals gave news to the Friends who performed no work. They are now under RCMP investigation. Meanwhile, the ministers responsible for this shit show have been what? Promoted. My question, when will the hard-working taxpayers of this country get their money back? Okay, Joe Lightman, is he actually asked that? Let's see what he does. Let's play the clip.
Okay.
Let's see how he gets on.
Member for North Island, Powell River.
$64.5 million. That's how much taxpayer money this Liberal government gifted their friends over at the top, Arrive scam contractor. Friends, Mr. Speaker, who are now under RCMP investigation. Yet the Trudeau ministers responsible for this scandal, far from being held accountable, have actually been promoted to the Ministers of U.S. Trade, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the Minister of Jobs. So my question to the Prime Minister is, when will there be some actual accountability for the millions of dollars in fraud, and when will the hardworking men and women of this country get their money back?
The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation.
Mr. Speaker, and let me be very clear, misconduct of any kind by suppliers is never acceptable, and we will always hold bad actors to account.
And of course they don't. I mean, it's just, they can say, oh yeah, listen, Mr. Speaker, I could assure you that I have never had more than a modest pork collection, and I want the honourable member from Powell River to recognize that my pork collection is a very tastefully well curated collection of pork.
Well, and I think what and Aaron Gunn, he's been, before he ran, he's been an expert at producing videos and documentaries on the complete decline, especially from the fentanyl and drug use in British Columbia specifically, but he's gone elsewhere as well. But just showing how bad the government policies have been on there. But I just want to point out to what they're referring to. So Arrive scam is what they're calling it. It was Arrive Can. It was our app that was created to travel, and I think you can say during the restrictions, so that you could come back into Canada or kind of filling out your app to make sure you're vaccinated and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But it was a $60 million contract basically given to some basement programmers who could have done it for $100,000, who were all connected into Trudeau's buddies. That was the thing. His sidekick, buddy, I can't remember his name, but he was a cabinet minister. But this has just increased it even beyond that. The same guys had also received now apparently $100 million more in other contracts and sidekick kind of stuff. I mean, this is patronage gone ugly, but it goes back to what you and I were talking about last week, and you did the Ruddles comparison. I really do believe Canada, and just for Pat's sake, Canada is in a state of receivership. These guys are looting what's left of Canada in preparation for the inevitable. Canada is going to be taken over by the United States because the liabilities are so great. These guys are packing it in. Yeah. They're taking what they can. That's why Carney's here to bring it all together. And he's going to make that unity aspect with the United States seem plausible without losing sovereignty. But it really is, as soon as you lose your currency is the date you lose your sovereignty, just like Margaret Thatcher said. Or he's going to take us to the EU. He's playing footsies with the EU. But there's no way most Canadians would support going to the EU, at least in the Western side. We would go USA. So I think that's where it's naturally headed. But this is the problem. We're being looted. Canada is not anything more than a kleptocracy. That's exactly what it is. We are filled with thieves, looting every aspect of our society right now. And they're taking what they can, enriching themselves quickly because they know it's running out and there's not much left. And to Pat's point earlier, I put in a post that I had put up about Victoria, but you could literally, if you want to show it, I posted this today to a Czech TV post about the Downtown Victoria Business Association is calling on all three levels of government to improve downtown safety. But this is a broader, like, it's just BS. It's a national problem where these progressive hell zones are being done at a level, not just at a local level, but it is being done at a provincial and federal level. But my point here is that the society is being taken over.
Hold on just a sec. We got trouble in the peanut gallery. Porch Pineapple, listen, Blake and I are here to do a good show, but I'm telling you, if you want to celebrate Pride, that's fantastic. Shithole is part of the problem of Pride, but that's okay. You just bathe, make sure you're well bathed before you engage in your fun. But thank you, Porch Pineapple. That was a great comment. But yeah, so because he gets involved with buggery a fair bit. Porch Pineapple. Buggery. Okay, listen, we got another clip here to play, Blake, and then we'll get in more of that. But what have we got here? Auditor General of Canada says there's a massive incompetence and corruption in federal government services procurement. What we found here is the public servants were not applying procurement rules. What? I have no reason to believe that it's unique to two vendors. We found issues in almost every contract we looked at. Oh, God.
Every contract. So not almost just Arrive Scam and the Lavalley thing.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a huge list. It's in the billions and billions and billions of dollars.
So who is going to jail? Who's getting fired? We get overtaxed for massive amounts of waste in the public sector. And there it is. I guess we can play the clip, see what she says.
And what we found here is that public servants were not applying procurement rules that at times are very clear. This echoed findings that I had in my previous audit on ArriveCan, as well as a previous audit on professional services that focused in on McKinsey & Company. I said it back then, and I'll repeat it now. I have no reason to believe that this is unique to two vendors. And that's why I believe the government needs to take a step back and look at why this behavior is happening.
Given the investigations you've done so far.
All right,
here's what I would like a take on that one, because notice she's just another government hack appointed by a prime minister. That's the problem in Canada. The prime minister is all powerful. They basically appoint all levels of the bureaucracy. They're in control of it. They're the executive branch. They're also a legislative branch, and they're also the judicial branch.
Yeah.
So they're all three levels go through them. So the Auditor General reports to the Parliament, and then it's really to the Prime Minister's privilege if the Prime Minister is going to do anything about it. The Prime Minister is the boss of the RCMP as well. So you see, well, the RCMP is investigating. Are they? Or they just don't care? It just whatever, it doesn't matter results. But notice who she blamed. She blamed some public servants for it, not the prime minister, not the cabinet ministers, but the people who are just the employees. So they're the easy peons you throw under the bus. In any civilized society, those people are typically whistleblowers. But we can't have whistleblowers in Canada because they're not protected here.
Yeah. Blake, I have a story to talk about this kind of corruption. The poor peons getting it now. Once upon a time, it'd be hard to believe for any of my friends and fans, many fans out there, YouTube world, I know there's legions of you. But the thing is, kids, once upon a time, I myself was a peon. I was at the bottom of the thing. Me and Banjo Boy were working very hard on an archaeological project. We happened to find some artifacts. And it's all anonymous. I shan't mention any names like McKenzie. But I'm going to tell you something, that the British Columbia government, they had one of their head agents in charge of this project come, and they didn't talk to my boss. I was just a helper boy number one. My boss is sitting there, okay? He was a great guy. I love him. He's probably gone now because we were very elderly. But he was such a nice guy. And he's cutting an apple, sitting on the bumper of his truck. And I go, gee, boss. I go, what's your job title? And he goes, me? And he's cutting his apple with his knife. He goes, me? He goes, I go, I'm the chief surveyor or something. He had a proper title. He said, I'm chief surveyor. I said, boss, well, what's my title? He goes, you're helper boy number one. Helper boy. That's
like
right.
Water boy.
Water
boy.
That's right, helper boy. We're up there. I got film of this somewhere, and I had my camera on the job, and I'm up there because I was a really good helper boy number one. And I got all his work supplies, and he had nothing. He had nothing he needed. It was all there, and so he's slaving away because I'm so fast and got my work done and out of the way. He goes, "Isn't there?" He goes, "Don't you have something to do?" He's getting mad because I'm just sitting there watching him work. I'm getting paid, and he goes, "Is there? There's wood all over here. Pick up the wood." So I grab the camera. The camera pans down to the ground. And there's like 2 pieces of shiplap just sitting on the ground. And that was it. That was it. It kind of goes, and I work the camera so it pans down. And there's nothing. Then it pans back. There's the wood. Yes, he was a great guy. We just loved him. But, there you go. Like, we found this artifact. It was a native artifact. It could have been very embarrassing for the government. It could have been very costly. And land claims, all sorts of trouble. And so he went to me and said, if word got out about this, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. I go, me? I'm helper boy number 1. I'm the lowest person on this whole thing.
You should have said, what do you mean we, Kemosabe?
Yeah, me. We walk long way. Yeah, we do not do project. Okay, here we go. Scoozy's got a good one for us. Matt Couch. Of course, I like Matt. He's a little controversial. Some stuff I like from him, some I don't. Some of you come from the if you stop crying, I'll buy something generation. We come from the if you don't stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about generation. We are not the same. That is so true.
If you stop crying, I'll buy you something.
Yeah, I'll buy you something. If you stop crying, I'll buy you something. I tried that once at a parent. I have no memory of this, but my mom tells me we were at Middlegate in Burnaby, an old shopping center. And, I guess I wanted something. I'm a little kid. I'm about 7 or 6. And my mom said, no. And then I guess my dad was there too. And he spanked me right there in the store. I got a whipping. And then I had to go sit in the car. In those days, you could leave a 6-year-old in the car without worried about somebody with a modest child porn collection coming to take you away.
There was a few of us left in cars while the parents sat and drank in the pub on the road trips.
Oh, boy, that's horrible. Isn't that? That's old school and then stuff.
Yep.
Holy so how many more stories we got for today's show? I'm running a little low on energy. We've been working out on the deck back here, Blake, putting in a floor, and we got it done today. Except for one quarter piece. We're going to have to go back and talk about that. Hey, Rach, at the end of the show, will we do a welfare check on Little Mason since we lost Brian Wilson today? Yeah, we lost the legend that was Brian Wilson, Beach Boys. We talked about that a little earlier in the program. But, yeah, it is really quite the thing. Sue, have you got a link for that, or did you follow that? Is there anywhere to go with this? Victoria in trouble.
Blake has.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Okay, well, explain why we're in trouble, Blake. Why is Victoria in trouble?
Well, what I was referring to was I put that up because of what Pat was mentioning.
Okay. Pat, you're in trouble. Look out.
No, it was positive to what he was saying. It's validating his point. But you could read that, but you could really take the word Victoria out there and you could put Canada, or you could put British Columbia. Yeah. It's the same thing. My whole point is what I was saying is Victoria's lost with no way back. Yeah. EB, who we talked about earlier, public service expansion has driven away all private capital investment, with the exception of pension funds and hotels and rental properties from Victoria. The city's progressive Marxist councils, which you could put provincial or Ottawa Parliament, those Marxist council grows renters and municipal voters around state. So they're making themselves more powerful by reducing homeowners and creating more dependency people to be on the voter blocks. Victoria lacks balance. Only takers lead. Small businesses struggle or depend on subsidies from overpaid civil servant spouses, which is true. Half the business people I meet, they're trying to do a small business. The only way they can exist because their spouse works for the government and making $150,000, $200,000 a year.
Yeah.
And so essentially that wealth isn't generated in Victoria. It's evaporating. The wealthy residents keep their money elsewhere, outside of the country, a lot of them, earned outside of the city. The once optimistic, entrepreneurial gold rush city now suffers from a progressive rot, far left ideologues, and endless government growth. That is Canada as well. as a whole. That's the problem with Canada right there. We are in a vicious cycle that's destroying the fabric of optimism, of dreams, be all that you can be.
Yeah.
You can desire to do something and do it, but it's just this molasses of bureaucracy and people feeding themselves off the system has gotten the pendulum has swung so far that I don't know if it can come back. Canada's on its way to Venezuela. That's basically what we're looking at.
I think you're right about that, but I also think that, like we were saying, outside of the Lord intervening and doing whatever he wants to do in the natural world, Donald Trump coming in, annexing the joint, he can't be happy with a communist nation on his border.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. I can't see America. Remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, the whole idea of that? There's no way they were going to allow that to fly.
But Cuba's a little easier to isolate. Canada's not, right? We have a huge landmass. And I agree. I think Trump will not allow that, nor the U.S. in general. It's not just Trump. I think anybody who has half a brain in the U.S. is going to say, we're not going to let Canada turn into a
Matthew, you would be exempt from that. You notice he said half a brain. Okay, you're not quite there yet, but you're getting there. Okay, what do we got here, Sue?
Oh, just some more illegals fun.
Okay, here we go. Let's see what's what Bill Clinton. Holy cow, this montage shows Bill, Hillary, Biden, Obama.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Oh, my God. Okay, well, let's see
what... In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes.
Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
I think we got to have tough conditions. Tell people to come out of the shadows. If they've committed a crime, deport them. No questions asked.
Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable.
Yes.
Especially those who may be dangerous.
I'm voting for him.
In the budget I will present to you, we will try to do more to speed the deportation of illegal aliens who are arrested for crimes.
Senator Biden. Yes.
I love those guys. Holy smokes. They are making a lot of sense. Blake, Hillary, obviously you're a fan. It's just incredible, some of the wisdom that we're hearing of these leaders.
Well,
kind of going to happen.
Well, let's call it this. They were just pandering to swing some Republican votes their way. That ended up.
It worked on me.
Yeah, exactly. Hope and change. Hope and change.
Hope and change. I love the poster.
Hopey changey.
Holy smokes. Blake, anything else on the agenda for you?
Whatever you got. I mean, I'd just love to see us just all get along.
Yeah, we're going to get along. It's Happy Pride. Sue, anything else?
Okay, I want to post this.
One more. This is it, right?
Yeah,
I'm fading fast.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Such flip-flopper. Exactly right, Kim. But you want some truth and integrity. It stands for something.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. What do we got here? This is Pierre Poilievre. This is Blake Sky. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says the Canadian population has grown out of control. Is calling on the Liberal government to further reduce what? Are you kidding me? Happy Eid. This is a guy that just wished us all a happy Eid. I got that.
Well, this is not the reason to reduce immigration that we have. Our population is not out of control. This just doesn't make any sense.
Well, but the people that are here that they're talking about, that 5 million number, aren't immigrants. Yeah. They're temporary workers on visas, and they're also student visas for international students. So they don't need to be here. So there's 5 million people. There's the airport. Go home. It's that simple. But what immigration is for Canada is what it traditionally was, between 300 to 400,000 a year that would apply for immigration and go through what the normal lawful people do.
Yeah.
So Poilievre needs to stop calling it what it is. It's not immigration. Immigration's not the problem. It is illegals being brought in by illegally working under fake work visas done by people who are local. These are locals taking advantage of those laws to have cheap labor at a point that some of these people are getting paid below minimum wage, because a lot of students don't have to work for the full amount because those international students are doing it under, quote, work credits. So those credits for their school, they end up going, well, I'll work for free, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, cash under the table. That's how it's a total corrupt, full of rot system that needs to be done. But it's very simple. You don't have to do anything. You get no health care. You don't get any supports here. We're not giving you $1 of government money. And there's the airport. When it expires, go home. It's that simple. That simple. And I'm sure Trump's going, don't send them our way. We don't need the extra 5 million running across our border. And I bet you that's what they're concerned about.
You can keep the $5. Oh, I will, mister. All right. Well, listen, that's a great show. Blake, I want to thank you for being here with us today. We're coming out 419. It's a good show. Like, there's a lot. We covered a lot. It's pop, pop, pop here. Blake, obviously, the loss of Brian Wilson. Did you have a favorite Beach Boys song?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my favorite album as a kid was the Greatest Hits. It came out about 77.
They did a whole bunch of Greatest Hits albums.
Yeah, but yeah, I liked Good Vibrations was one of my favorite.
Huge song.
That was like probably as a kid, that was the one that was the top of the list. Obviously, Deuce Coupe, love that one. Little Deuce Coupe. Little Old Lady from Pasadena. Yeah. Another great. I loved all those ones.
Yeah, the surfing wheel.
Yeah, I was born in 1969, so they were been around for a little bit. But in the 70s, there was kind of a resurgence with all those greatest hits. But yeah, it's interesting that they, they were compared to at the same level as the Beatles for a while at that hype. They were like huge.
Well, they were influential on the Beatles. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, but a whole different vibe. It's too bad. Brian Wilson played here a few years ago. I think about 2019 in Victoria. He was one of the headliners for the last year of Rock the Shores. Do you remember that festival?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was headlining it. I think one of the nights also had what's his name, Jack Black from the.
If I had been in Victoria, where I was in Sydney, BC for quite a while, but that's one I would have liked to have taken in. Big lineup. I was going to go see Cheap Trick and ZZ Top, and then the sickness hit from 4 years back, and they canceled that tour, and that was it.
But good news, Triumph is back together. Apparently going to do a tour. I'd love to see Triumph.
Canadian Power Trio coming back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, go play a Beach Boys song, and rest in peace, Brian Wilson, legend. Thanks for watching the show. And don't hurt any Teslas, okay? Matthew Petty, Porch Pineapple. Just don't avoid the temptation to scratch them up. Okay. Take care, everybody. We love you. And we'll see you tomorrow at 12 noon. We're going to be here back
to the
nooner for Thursday and Friday. Take care. Thank you, Blake. As always, great show. Peace and love. Bye, everybody. Hi,
bye, all.